Good evening. Hi. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm Bonnie O'Regan. I'm the Advanced Learning Program Facilitator for Greenwich Public Schools. This evening we will take, this morning we did about 45 minutes. We'll have about an hour allotted for us to talk about the grade 2 placement procedures for the Advanced Learning Program. The Advanced Learning Program starts in grade 2 with enrichment, and the enrichment is in addition to the core curriculum for reading or math. In grades 3 through 5, we use advanced academics, where we replace the core curriculum for reading or math, and we also offer enrichment in science. In grades 6 through 8, we have advanced academics. The ALP program oversees the language arts, the ALP language arts part, but there is also advanced academics in the middle school in the form of 3 different levels of math, 2 levels of science, 2 levels of foreign language. The ALP program also oversees an elective seminar program. This year is a little bit different because we have our grade 3 through 5 students who have been placed in reading or math are all in a cohort for all academics, reading, math, writing, and science. In grade 2, the students will be pulled out in the students who are in school, in brick and mortar school, will be pulled out for enrichment in reading or math. The students who are enrolled in the remote school will not be pulled out for activities. Instead, all students will have access to the enrichment playlist with an enrichment playlist of learning activities to complete during their What I Need Now time with feedback given. So for that reason, the placement process for students who are in remote, they don't need it. We can, because all of the students will have access. What the placement process does is identifies those students who will be pulled out of their homerooms for that enrichment. The placement process starts with the referral phase. This is the phase that we're in right now, and then followed by the evaluation phase. And this is the phase that I will be talking a lot about tonight, about what all the evaluations are that are involved. And next, then we have the placement phase, where the students are actually placed into who's going to be pulled out of their homerooms. So, referral phase. It starts with looking at the STAR reading and math scores that you just received at home, looking at those students who are above the 96th percentile in STAR reading or math. And then if the students are, then I also ask the teachers, are there any other students that did not score at the 96th percentile who show characteristics of some underdeveloped potential that they may need some enrichment outside of the classroom? Then all those emails went out to those parents, and email that you all received that parents are asked to refer their child because you have information about your children that we may or may not have. So you may refer your child. The referral forms were linked in the parent link set that I sent out, and they're also available on the website, on the Advanced Learning Program page of that. Everything is due in by the 13th because we will be then starting the evaluation phase. A number of people ask me whether it matters whether the teacher recommends or if a parent does, and it has no bearing whatsoever on the placement. What we do is we look at a valid and reliable picture of student achievement by looking at ability, achievement, and performance. And no one score is going to determine placement. No one score is going to keep a student from being placed in the pull-out program. So ability, achievement, and performance are different aspects. Ability is your reasoning. How well do you reason with the with the symbol system associated with reading or math. In this case, reading would be the symbol system of language, words, or with math, the symbol system of numbers. Achievement is what the students know. How do they understand? Have they mastered the skills that either they've been exposed to directly or indirectly? And performance is that integration of that knowledge and skills and to create their own knowledge. Starting with the ability, we use the cognitive abilities test to test for abilities. In the verbal battery looks at fluency with words. So, and here the students are given 20 to 24 questions. This is a timed test, and there's 3 different components. In verbal analogies, students examine a pair of words and think of ways in which they're related. Then they apply this relationship to a third word to generate a new pair of words related to each other in the same way as the first pair. The second part, the sentence completion, students read an incomplete sentence and then select the answer choice that best completes the sentence. The verbal classification, students examine 3 words and think of ways in which they are alike. Then they select the answer choice that belongs in the same group. Students are given practice questions related to these before they begin each section of the assessment. In the quantitative battery, we do the same things, but with numbers. What you're looking at here is the number analogies. You examine 2 pairs of numbers and determine the rule that the pairs follow. Then apply that rule to a given number and choose the answer that generates the third pair that follows the same rule. In the number puzzles, each question presents an equation in which elements are missing. The students then must substitute numbers from the missing elements to solve the equation. Number series, each question contains a series of numbers that follows a pattern. The students identify the rules that the numbers follow, then apply that rule to the next, to find the next number in the series. When we look at the achievement, we look at what the student has achieved or how they have acquired information. Either they have done this through direct or indirect experiences. The assessment we use here is the NWEA MAP, Measures of Academic Progress. The Measures of Academic Progress is in a computer adaptive assessment. The Cognitive Abilities Test is a static test. Every one of the students will get the exact same test, exact same questions. With the MAP test, every student is going to get a bit different question set. In this, if the students answer a question correctly, as you can see here, see my mouse here, if the answer is correctly, they're going to get a harder question. If they get that wrong, they're going to get an easier question, and so on and so forth until the student that we get a good reading of what they know and what they're ready to learn. The MAP test poses questions that are not always grade level questions. Most of the questions that we expect the students will get will be above level, and they will keep on getting questions until they get enough wrong that we know exactly what they're ready to learn next. This is different than their math tests that they take at the end of a unit, or their spelling test that the students are expected to get. Approximately half of them incorrect. We have some sample questions here. Here we're looking at key ideas and details in literary text and in nonfiction text. You can see here where they read and then answer a multiple choice question. When you look at language, craft, and structure and these types of questions, again, also both literary, in this case, they're reading a poem, or they're reading a informational or nonfiction text. Again, it's multiple choice. They select the correct answer. And then when they look at the vocabulary acquisition and use, students recognize and understand the word relationships, and they use context clues to decipher the word meanings and the nuances. Again, this is multiple choice. On the math, you'll notice in operations and thinking, students may be getting a picture that they need to interact with. They may get a computation problem. Yes, they do get scrap paper. I do not expect them to do all these in their head. They can have a piece of scratch paper. They also are asked to use the materials in order to create a graph or choose all the quadrilaterals. There's more than one answer here, but you can see that there is definitely one correct answer for these. There are additional practice questions, and this is the practice questions the students will be going through with the person who is giving them the assessment. Here's the website in case you want to look at it ahead of time. And you can go into here, you type in the username, grow, select a grade level. You can select any grade level you wish. Here, what you're looking at here is the question types. You want reading and the practice items reading here. Do not pick the K2 one. That would be way too easy for us. We need to do the regular reading, which goes from starts at grade 2 and goes on up. They're not actually, these test questions are not adaptive. They're just giving you the ideas of what the items look like. This is your brain. This is your brain on a multiple choice question test. We really don't know what the kids know. So the performance assessments that we use ask the student, these are open-ended, and that allows the kids to show us what they are thinking. It gives me insight into exactly how they reason. So for the reading performance task, what we are asking for is the students have to be able to interpret. And in this, again, they read a story and answer the questions. But in this case, the questions, there's no prefabricated multiple choice. They need to come up with their own responses. So here's 3 samples. They will get 4 of them, but here's 3 good samples of what does this fable tell you about friendship? What's the moral of the story? After reading, think about the lion and the change that he goes through in the fable. The most important part of every one of these is using details from the text to support your answer. Here you can see where that's going to be prompted on every one of the questions, is using details to support their answer. Then the students are given, they're scored on a rubric. 0 is an inaccurate, or they just copied, or they've written, I don't know. Or that it's basically a non-answer. A 1 is a literal interpretation. A 2 is they're getting into some interpretation of it. Whereas a 1 is very literal, a 2 has more, they're starting to read between the lines, and a 3 is analytical and explaining how the evidence. Let me show you an example. Let's take that question about friendship. So a 0, don't laugh at your friends. Good idea, but it doesn't really answer the question. Number 1, the story tells me that friendship is good to have. Whereas you can look at number 2, where you're getting into analysis, where the friendship can help you when you're in danger, because the mouse had so much friendship with the lion that he was brave enough to save him. Whereas if we look at question number 3, or a sample for a level 3 response, is that you should let people have a chance to be your friend, because it is nice. You can see how people help. I think that because in the story, the lion forgave the mouse for waking him, and the mouse freed the lion from the trap so he could be free. The mouse helps the lion, and the lion helps the mouse, and that is what friendship is all about. Notice that on the level 2 and the level 3 responses, they have the word because. That's the most important word for the kids to write in here. It doesn't matter how they spell it. It doesn't matter if they have capital letters. It doesn't matter if they've misspelled a number of words in here. What we're looking for here are the ideas. On the math performance task, what the students are asked to do is take their skills that they already know and use it to develop new knowledge and using a strategy. So here are a few samples. For instance, 10 can be written as a sum of 4 different counting numbers as 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. And how many ways can 15 be written? You can see here where they can add to 15. They just need to make sure that that what they're doing is making an organized list. On the next question about a farm, some hens and sheep. There's some hens and sheep. There's 8 heads and there's 22 feet. How many hens are there? And the third one, here's where the students have to look at a bag of a dozen oranges that are $3. And when the manager puts in some more, but doesn't change the $3, it now actually is $2 a dozen. So how many oranges are added to the bag? So here's a sample of how you go about doing this. Now, I happen to be a mathematician and I look at this and I say, H plus S equals 8. 2H plus 4S equals 22. Oh, this is the systems of equations. How can they possibly do it? But using what a second grader knows, they know there's 8 heads. They can draw 8 heads. So drawing 8 heads, and each animal is going to have at least 2 feet. Well, if I count that, I've got 16 feet here. Now I need to add up to 22 feet. I can keep on adding until I get to 22 feet. Oh, I've got 22 feet here and 8 heads. So I have 5 hens left. So now we're going to put everything together. We're going to look at the students' scores on their ability test, on the cognitive abilities test, how they did on the NWEA MAP test, how they do on the performance assessment, and along with the behaviors characteristics. What we're looking at again is that valid and reliable picture and no one score. What we do is now we get together as a team. I will be at each meeting. The building administrators are at the meetings. Classroom teacher is, the ALP teachers, whoever gives the test. And looking at the educational needs of each and every student who is assessed. We don't put the kids that have parent referrals in one pile and the parent and the students for another, that were referred by a teacher in another. They're all together and we talk about every student as an individual. What we're looking for here is we want the students to be within their learning zone. This is the zone of proximal development, that at which they can do with some assistance. Comfort zone is where homework lives. This is what the students can do completely on their own. It's their practice. The anxiety zone is that zone at which they get very frustrated. If you have homework that's in that anxiety zone, you'll see tears. If it's in the learning zone, they're saying, I don't remember quite how to do this. If that homework is not in that comfort zone, it's always a good idea to let the teacher know that the student needed help on that so that they can adjust accordingly the next day. So the placements, then we make a placement recommendation, whether or not they're going to be pulled out or not. You can always say, no, thanks. I don't want my child to be pulled out at this point in time. And if they're not recommended for the pullout, you can request to be reconsidered with new information via the appeal process. Now we'll be talking about all of that appeal process and how these scores are interpreted when we get back together at the end of the placement phase. So the referral phase is right now. Everything's due by November 13th, because we want to open up that assessment window on that next Monday on November 16th, go through December 11th. All tests must be given in person. So if a student or a group of students is quarantined, the testing for that student or group of students is suspended until they return to in-person learning. This may mean that there may be some makeup tests happening after December 11th due to the quarantining. Don't worry about it. We will make them up. We will get this all done. Assessment results and the placement recommendations. Everything will be emailed to you before winter break. Winter break is I believe that there's an early release on the 23rd. So the goal is to get those all out. Prior to that, I don't want to be doing it on the 23rd, which I'm sure you appreciate also. And then we will get back together to talk about all of the scores and score interpretation. How can you prepare? Read. Take the test seriously, but not so much so that they think that it's the end of the world. We want them to give their best effort, not be stressed out. Get to bed early, have a good breakfast, arrive to school on time. And again, don't worry about the makeups. We will make sure that the students are given the assessments, even if it means that we might have to go into January. We will make those placements at that point in time. So questions. I'm going to stop the share here and start going through questions. CogAT is on paper pencil. We're doing traditionally the grade 2 students, all the grade 2 students have taken the complete CogAT in October in the past, but that is that's new this year. That we are only going to be giving the CogAT to those students who are being assessed. The students are expected, yes, on the reading performance, they're expected to write the answer. However, if they do need to rehearse it or they need to have a scribe, that can be accommodated. Again, it's about the ideas. It's not about how well they can hold a pencil or write in complete sentences or with correct spelling. Math performance tests, they're the students, somebody has, on the math performance test for the 2nd grade, can the question be read? Yes, the questions can be read, but I cannot define what the word sum means. Oh, I skipped a question. Are the tests taken on the same day? No, one test, one day. So the students will take a verbal, may take the verbal CogAT in one day. They may take it in 2 sittings. There may be with the ALP teacher or whoever's giving the test for a half an hour and then go and take a mask break, go back to their homerooms and then come back into the room. But they will only take a single test in one day. I figure about an hour of assessing for the day. One question that's not here that I did not put into the PowerPoint is you will find out before the 16th, the ALP teacher or the testing facilitator for the building will give you a schedule of what the testing that is planned and how it is being planned. That was a question. The same placement protocol is for all grade levels. Then we will be doing all of this again, with the exception of I won't do the cognitive abilities tests again for the students in the spring for the 2nd graders in the spring. But everything else is I will look at the January STAR scores and start the process all over again for looking at getting into the replacement for grades 3 through 5. The process goes every spring. So the students aren't placed at 2nd grade. They can be placed in 3rd, 4th, 5th, all the way through through middle school. All the testing is in person, and somebody said, can remote kids take the assessments? all the testing is being done in person. If a student is in remote, they will have access to the learning activities. If they choose to go to in-person learning, at that point in time, they may be tested at that point in time in person. The at There's if you want to put in the referral form now, I'm keeping a track of who that is, the students who have been referred by their parents at this point in time. For that, I also get a list of those students who are transferring between, and I will be making sure that I keep track of that and send you out an information as to, if you want to have your child tested, what you need to do at that point in time. If the students is fully remote, you can take the test in third grade. Yes, we will be doing everything in person. So the placement assessments are done every year. It's an enrichment. How is ALP explained to second graders? And it's an enrichment pullout. It's for the students. It's part of their what they need now time. So the students are, it matters on how the teacher explains it. I look at it as that this is what those students need at this point in time, and that they may need some extra enrichment. They may need some extra support. Is the assessment performed every year, irrespective of the results in a given year? I'm not sure what you mean, Kevin. Does it mean that does it matter if, we're going to be giving it, we'll give the assessments again every spring. I look at the previous ones, but they're not going to ever hold a student back. Kevin, clarify if I'm not answering the question correctly. How many kids take the test at one time? That matters on what the spacing is, and so that we can keep the kids safe in the space that they have in order to take the test. Will a recording of this session be available for viewing? Yes. Michael and I are going to get that, make sure that that's posted tomorrow. We have the recording from earlier today also. Both of them will be placed up onto the website. I'll share with you where to find that shortly. Percentage of kids in the program we run, when I look at the full program, it's around 15%. Last year we placed about 50 students in grade 2 for the pullout. I'm not sure where we're going to be this year as what that is. It's how many students are shown that they need to have that enrichment pullout. Once a student is placed in the program, no, if they're placed at grade 2, they will not need to redo the entire placement procedures as long as they're being successful. We're going to be continually assessing. We want them to be successful, but they will continue in grades 3, 4, and 5. And then when we change buildings, when we, in going into middle school, then we do a full assessment again at that point in time. When the remote students, for third grade ALP, let's talk about that one in March, because I want to make sure that I'm giving you all of that. It will be March, April is when that window is. But I know that we want to do it in person. And so I want to see where things are and how is it that we can give all of the assessments safely for the students. So Jenny, can we come back to that one, please? More coming on it. Can we choose a remote learner to take the assessments now in case they may switch to person? Let's just do it in, let's just do it when they come back into school, just to keep things just to keep things consistent. I would rather do that, but if you want to talk with me individually about your particular situation, if you need a scribe or if you need to rehearse, talk with the person who is sending you the test. Talk with the person who sends you the test schedule, because that's the person who's going to actually probably be giving the assessment, or would know who is proctoring the test at that time. The program is not being offered synchronously in the same way that art and music are not being given synchronously to remote. We're using the same protocol of the students will be getting feedback through that asynchronous. They will be getting the playlists. Is ALP available at all schools? Yes, the pull-out program is available at all 11 schools. Oh no, if a report student wants this year to be an ALP at the start of third, they would need to be tested now. Yes, you will get a chance. They will get a chance to test in the spring for third grade. All students will have that chance to test in the spring for third grade ALP. If it's not safe for people to be in buildings at that point in time, we will figure out a way for us to do it in person when it is safe for us to have the students all together. More questions? Let me share my screen here. You should be able to see the screen here. On the Greenwich Public Schools website, if you go into teaching and learning to academics, go into advanced study, ALP. In here, you'll look at informational meetings. If you look at the placement process, here's the information for tonight's Zoom. Right here, you will see the PowerPoint that I shared with you tonight, the procedures PowerPoint, and this is where you will see the recordings show up tomorrow. Also in here, you will notice on the placement tab, there's a placement procedures handbook, which is the long version of what I talked about. It does need some updating because the NWEA is new this year. The information that's in there is about the STAR, and at this point in time, we look at the scale scores in the STAR. We'll be looking at what they call a RIT score for the NWEA, but the same process will hold true. When we look here.
Hey, Bonnie, you're still showing the PowerPoint. You're not showing the website.
Oh, I am not?
That's correct.
I apologize. Oops. Thank you. So here's the informational meetings. Now, are you seeing the right thing?
Yes, we are seeing the right thing.
Oh, good. Okay, so here under informational meetings, you will see the PowerPoint from tonight. And then this is where the information will be, where the videos will be added in. And in placement, here's where the procedures handbook is. And you can see here the dates for when we'll be looking at for September 2021 placement. Here is when you go into the practice for the map test, you can type in grow, and continue, select grade 2. Here you'll want to go into reading. And then you want the practice reading here. And in it, you will see some sample questions, and there's 10 questions. And then you can look at the tools that the kids are given within that. Okay, more questions. Percentage of ALP students are referred by parents versus teachers. It just depends on the year. And it depends. Some buildings more so than others. I haven't even counted up how many parent referrals I've had. So far, I know that I have parent referrals for each of the elementary buildings. And I've been running the mail merge in order to send, usually, but once a day, I send out the confirmations on that, usually in the morning. Once you're chosen for ALP, you do not have to test yearly. Is there logistically an upper limit on how many students could be in ALP? Would that be a potential disadvantage for third grade placement for remote students? If a student is in the committee, if the student is that the committee says this student needs to be in an ALP class, then we're not saying no, you can't be in that class because it has too many students. And third grade, for third grade placement for remote students, the third grade ALP remote class, along with the fourth and the fifth grade, are large classes. Yes. Do you recommend that we have kids take practice questions online before the evaluation? The test proctors will be doing that with them. If you wish to do it too, that's fine too. The test proctor will make sure, that way we can make sure that all students, even the students of the parents who are not able to attend one of the meetings to get the, or by virtue of their parents can become very busy, as we all know, that you don't get a chance to do it. We want to make sure that all the students have that opportunity. Okay, show the website again. I went too fast. Yes, I've been accused of that. I'm going to go back to the beginning. From the Greenwich Public Schools, if you go into teaching and learning to academics, you can either go into advanced learning program here or down below. In here, you have my contact information. Here's the informational meetings in here. And this is where you find the PowerPoint and where the recordings will appear tomorrow. Here on this, I'm going to X out of this and show you here. All I did was NWEA practice test, and it sends you right to it. And if you get to the practice test, you hit grow. You can select any grade you want. You know, we can go into second grade here. We want to do, let's look at the math ones this time. Let's look at it in English. And then we want the math practice items. And here you can see where they have to make a choice before they move on. And you can see here, there's different types of questions. Oh, yes, somebody asked about when they will be notified. You will get, notified on or expect the notification before the 16th. The reason why I say that is that if you fill out a form on the 13th, that the teachers may not get that information until the weekend. And so expect it on the 16th, but you should be getting that information with that full schedule. Before the first day. We have the window that opens on the 16th, but a lot of times the proctors in the buildings will choose to not do testing that first day. They will start like on the 17th, just to accommodate any parents to make sure that everybody gets the notification. Any other questions? If you don't hear by the 16th, you reach out to the ALP teacher in the building. And if you don't know who that is, you contact me and tell me which building you're in, and I will pass it on. Somebody asked for me to put this link.
If you click type answer, you should be able to put it in that field there under his question.
Here you go. You will receive all test results regardless of outplacement via the email that you will get by the 23rd. The 23rd is the absolute last day that I would possibly be sending it out. Any other questions? Thank you for joining me. Feel free to contact me if you have any further questions. Thanks. I was saying this at the beginning, it seems strange because I don't see people. If the child is nominated based on STAR, what's the chance that they get in? Matters on how they do on the other tests. It really is, it's dependent. Right. How do I keep up with so many students? A lot of Excel spreadsheets. Everything's spreadsheets, and that's why I use the Google Forms. Anything else? Thank you.